This video will take you through the setup you'll need to do in order to use Clever Rebates. On here you have a sales and purchase section. You can fill these in manually, or you can use the setup wizard from across the top. This will take you through each step of setting up the sales and purchase side. We'll use the next button to go through the setup, and our first option would be if we want to use Clever Rebates to manage sales rebates. Set yes or no. If yes is selected, you'll need to select a number series for rebate numbers. If you do, however, run default configuration first, this will pull through some rebate numbers for both purchases and sales already. If not, you'll just have to create your own to fit your own purpose. I've already set some up for both purchase and sales, so I'm just going to select it from here. Then we need to select a rebate journal template and a rebate journal batch. I've already created a batch within my general journals, and this will be used for posting the accruals. Next, we can choose if we want to automatically post the sales accruals, as well as the output documents at the end of the day for the rebate. We can simply select them from here if we want to automate it, but we can also turn this off later if need be. We can also have a sales notification recipient. We can also fill in the sales notification recipients box with an email address. This email address receives notifications from the sales rebate process. These will be things on the lines of errors or successes with the batch processing. We can also choose if we want to only issue documents for paid invoices, meaning that if a customer hasn't paid an invoice, we're not going to count that into their rebates. Next, we need to select which GL accounts we're going to use for the posting sales rebates. I've already set some up on my system, but you need to use the ones most appropriate for this, or create new ones where appropriate as well. Simply enter in the correct accounts for your rebate sales, income statement, rebate liabilities, balance sheet, and for the sales rebate document output. And then we can just choose if we want to use it for purchase rebates as well. It'll be a similar process, setting up the purchase rebate numbers, the purchase rebate journal template and purchase rebate journal batch, as well as we want to automatically post accruals and document outputs, as well as our notification recipients, and then also the GL accounts for the purchase rebates, so our rebate purchase income statement, rebate assets balance sheet, and purchase rebate document output accounts. And then we're done. You'll notice all that's done is actually just populate the rebate setup page for us, meaning any of those settings we just did through the actual setup wizard, we can just change on the fly if we need to, such as turning on or off the automatic postings. Next, we need to set up the actual rebates. We could do this either from Actions, Setup, and Sales Rebate or Purchase Rebate, but we can also find these just from the search as well. These pages will list our currently existing rebates, and we can create new ones with new from across the top. The number will fill in automatically based on what we set up with the number series. And then we have a description to describe the rebate. In the case of purchase rebate, it'll be one specific to a time period. We then have value type. Value type will determine the rebate calculation. This will set if the rebate calculation were based either on the value or a percentage. We can also determine if the calculation will work off either the quantity or the quantity base. For type, we can choose if it will be fixed or a stepped rebate. Fixed remain the same, but with stepped, once you reach certain amounts, our rebate may change. The start date and end date will be the start and end date for which this rebate is valid. And document output will allow you to choose how to actually output your end rebate. In the case of rebate here, we have the option for purchase credit. But from the sales side, you'll see that you could either use sales credit or purchase invoice. We also have the maximum or fixed rebate here. If using stepped, this will be the maximum amount allowed, even if your step scenarios exceed this. Perfect if you don't think you or your customers will reach your maximum step. This way you can accrue for a more realistic amount rather than a potential maximum that might not be met. This will also help to tie up less money in your chart of accounts. If using fixed, this will be the amount for the fixed rebate. We then also have the status. We set it to active, where this will start being used and rebates will begin being calculated. Closed, to close it. That way it's no longer in effect. Or block it if there's currently an issue that we might need to fix. That way, no further rebate entries are generated. Next, in the lines area, we need to set up actually what this rebate will be valid against. Whether all items, a specific item category, an item individually, or items set with a particular item vendor. We simply select the correct type for which items will be valid for this rebate. If we then need to specify something, we can do so in the numbers column. which will also fill the description. So I could do this for an individual item, for example, or a whole item category. That way, any item with this category set against it will fall in the range of my rebate. If we're using stepped, we can set up the steps in the scheme steps across the top. Here we can define our minimum values and how much rebate value maximum you'll be able to get from this. So once you reach a minimum value of 2,000, 10,000 and 20,000, our rebate values go from 5, 10, 15 respectively. Bear in mind, in our steps, we have to respect the maximum rebate value or update it if we need to go above that value. We then need to allocate our rebate against either our vendor on the purchase side or the customers on the sales side. We'll do this via allocations across the top. From our allocations, we can select an individual vendor, all vendors, or even a new feature with buying groups. We can pick the one that makes the most sense for us. Either individual vendors, every single vendor, or ones that will fall under a buying group. Simply select the allocation type and who it should apply to. We can set up buying groups just by searching for buying groups in the search. Go into the buying groups page. We can create a new one from here, which will just be a code, description, whether you want to use a bill to pay to, in which case we can then choose the source type and the source number for a customer and vendor, and which customer and vendor individually. That way the correct customer or vendor will be put on that end output document for your rebate. On any vendor or customer card will now be a new rebates tab, where in here you can set the buying group against the entity. Finally, when your purchase or sales rebate is finished, you just need to update that status to active. Bear in mind, you won't be able to edit a rebate once it's active, so you have to change the status before you make any changes. Sales rebates are extremely similar, as you can see from here. Only difference being the document output types, and that these will be related to customers. All the same logic from the purchase side is here. Our lines for particular items or groups of items, from our value types, value calculations, type, and our allocations will now just be more geared towards our customers. But again, we can do this under buying groups as well. And that's how you can set up Clever Rebates. We'll have a separate video covering how to use it and how all this rebates functionality falls into place.